It's Friday the 29th of July and welcome to From the South. Protesters in Argentina are referring to the Mexican president Enrique Peña Nieto as a repressor of the Mexican people. Peña Nieto is in Argentina to discuss bilateral relations with his counterpart, President Mauricio Macri. Protesters are calling Peña Nieto a killer of teachers and students in reference to major human rights abuses in Mexico. A march turned violent in the streets of Santiago, Chile, in a standoff between students and police. The demonstration sought to add further pressure on President Michelle Bachelet's government, which had promised to make education free since 2013. Recently, the government proposed an education overhaul that does not meet the approval of student and teachers' body. Protesters say that politicians are corrupt, incompetent, and only want to line their pockets. Hondurans continue to fight against policies that hurt the environment. In this report, teleSur's Gerardo Torres explains why people are protesting the potential negative effects of mining and hydroelectric dams.
The Honduran capital, Tegucigalpa, is used to demonstrations. Since the 2009 coup d'etat, the reasons for protests have increased with the deepening of the extractivist neoliberal model that the most conservative political class develops hand in hand with the military forces.
That is why we are here, to say that we don't want mining concessions in our rivers. We don't want hydroelectric dams in our rivers. We don't want our mountains and our biodiversity to be threatened with all the government's extractive policies.
After the demonstrations and the protest actions in the capital, the people return to their regions where repression and persecution are permanent and every day more violent.
We, the campesinos in this country, live with a foot inside jail and the other one out.
Criminalization of protests has always existed in the country. There have always been governments that respond to protests with violence. Using the state's repressive structures, they also use other more subtle ways through existing powers like the Attorney General's office and the Supreme Court to take those accused of crimes such as sedition and illicit demonstrations to court.
On March 3, 2016, the world turned its eyes to Honduras after the assassination of indigenous leader Berta Cáceres, who defended the Hualcarque River, sacred space of the Lenca people. Cáceres permanently denounced the persecution and criminalization that all of the people of Honduras are suffering. According to the Committee of Relatives of Detained and Disappeared of Honduras, COFADE, in 7 years over 5,000 people have been charged in courts for defending their territories and more than 200 activists have been killed with impunity.
En la práctica, las violaciones de derechos humanos cada día son más.
In reality, the human rights violations are more regretful every day. They can't fool me or COFADE that the deaths have been reduced. They cook the books, and that is part of a dictatorship to change the figures. Just take a look at what happened last year in the community of San José La Paz. There, 20 indigenous people were murdered, and that hasn't been reflected in any of the statistics.
Indígenas que fueron muertos, y eso no se refleja en ninguna estadística.
On past May 9th of this year, another Honduran woman won the international acknowledgement for her struggle. Ana Miriam Romero of the indigenous Lenca movement of La Paz, MILPA, received the prize Frontline Defenders. The alarms are on for Romero to guarantee her life and the success of the struggle of her people that are fighting to get out of the rivers the hydroelectric projects as Aurora 1, that is developed by the Aurora Inversiones S.A. company, owned by Gladys Aurora Lopez, president of the National Party and currently the vice president of the National Congress. The resistance in Honduras continues growing, and until now it has achieved that only the 5% of the 397 concessions given by the government in these years are in exploitation. Gerardo Torres, teleSur, Honduras.
This July, Honduran authorities say that 8 children have been born with microcephaly. 7 of those cases were this week alone. They are asking citizens to exercise due care by cleaning their surroundings and ensuring there is no stagnant water left out. Microcephaly has been a major concern in Latin America, as babies born with the disease have abnormally small heads and incomplete brain development. Authorities in El Salvador have arrested 4 leaders of the Mara Salvatrucha criminal gang, along with 73 other people suspected of collaborating with the gang in an operation to disrupt business networks. More than 1,000 police officers, accompanied by prosecutors, took part in the operation, which involved 153 raids on businesses in the capital and 10 other departments. A cultural project is being developed in Peru that uses modern technologies to revive and enrich the country's traditions. The first story is based on the celebration in Paucartambo, south of the country, starting on the 16th of July. teleSur's Rael Mora explains.
Mi fidelidad es mi condena y es todo. In the celebration of Paucartambo, some participants dress up as the demon called Sacra and cover their eyes when the procession goes by with the image of the Virgin of Carmel. The transmedia project Mítico creates a story based on this tradition where the Sacra escapes from hell every year to try to see his beloved Virgin, who also represents his salvation.
No es un diablo cualquiera. Yo soy el Sacra, el diablo enamorado, capaz de recorrer infinitos infiernos con una sola mirada.
The goal of Mítico is to make the variety of cultural traditions more accessible to a modern society through graphic novels, short films, street murals, photo galleries, and documentaries.
Mítico busca rescatar, pues, ¿no?
Mítico seeks to rescue those characters, the traditions, the mythology and cultural expression that take place in Peru around the corner and everywhere else. We have the privilege to inhabit a rich land in that sense, but at the same time, it is not very well taken care of. We are distant from an intangible heritage.
Estamos un poco distanciados de nuestro patrimonio material.
After accessing the fictional stories, the project offers links to text and documentaries with information about the Peruvian traditions behind the characters, combined with an analysis of the social, religious, and political background and reach.
Expertos o historiadores.
Experts, historians, academics, people close to the folklore, the participant artists all talk about these characters and they instruct us on who they are in reality.
Nos instruyen un poco quién en realidad es este personaje.
Other characters that Mítico will continue to develop are the singer of Icarus, a mysterious woman from the Amazon who has ancestral battles with malign spirits, and the Danzak, also known as the Andean Scissors Dancer, who makes alliances with spirits to defeat dead. Mítico will be launched at the beginning of 2017. Rael Mora, teleSur, Peru.
A maternity hospital supported by Save the Children was bombed on Friday in an air raid in Idlib province of northwest Syria, causing heavy damage. It is still uncertain if the attack resulted in any casualties. The group said the bombing hit the entrance to the hospital, which is the biggest in the area, serving over 1,300 women monthly and carrying out over 300 deliveries a month. Indonesian authorities have executed 4 drug convicts, 3 of them foreigners, by firing squad. 10 others are expected to have faced the firing squad, including nationals from Pakistan, India and Zimbabwe, as well as Indonesians. President Joko Widodo has defended his government's ramping up the use of capital punishment, saying Indonesia is fighting a war on drugs and traffickers must be heavily punished. This cemetery is called the Traitors' Graveyard and was created to bury Turkish rebel soldiers whose failed July 15th coup attempt claimed a total of 270 lives, but failed to unseat the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Officials say the location was chosen with an apparent intention to offer the minimum glory and burial, just near a construction site where a project to build a shelter for street animals is underway. Hillary Clinton has officially accepted her party's nomination. She is the first woman presidential nominee of a major US party. During her speech, she pledged to be a president for all Americans and repeated the convention's theme of Stronger Together, declaring that her lifelong goal has been to ensure that Americans can use their talent and ambition to strengthen the nation. Ye Tun Nuang, an Olympic pistol shooter from Myanmar, is hoping to win his country's first gold medal in the sport. He is his country's only Olympic contribution. In 2014, he represented Myanmar in the 2014 Asian Games. He said that when he shoots, his mind is completely at peace. More on these and other stories on our website telesurtv.net/English.